All right, everybody got another one? The passenger side of a vehicle in the United States is,
A, right side.
it's A, it's on the right side, and that would be, unless you're a letter carrier, and that may be on the other side, and, basically, whenever I call the parts store, I'll say I got a GMC truck, and it's green, and it's got white leather tires, and the steering wheel's on the driver's side. Right, steering wheel's always on the driver's side, isn't it?
Not always.
Is the steering wheel sometimes on the passenger side?
Yes.
Where's the person that's driving the car gonna be sitting behind the steering wheel? He better be. You see where I'm going with that?
Oh no, you see some male people. They'll
Yeah,
like,
male
doing the
people, they
gas
sit
and
in the middle.
everything from the passenger seat.
Some of them have a steering wheel on both sides. They'll have a belt going over here and some pedals over there and all for like the, but anyway, a vehicle with the engine on the front can be what?
Any.
It doesn't, is it always front wheel drive?
No.
Is it always rear wheel drive?
No.
Can be either one. All right, so that's gonna be a D. Vehicle identification number since 1981 is how many characters long?
17.
17. The 10th character represents the year of the vehicle. If the 10th digit is a Y, that is a 2000 model. Remember that guy, whenever, and I've talked about this before, I've hammered on this and hammered on this. If you are going out here, we had one with this Nissan over there on the lift that we were trying to do some work on the brakes on it, and we kept getting the wrong parts, And I said, what in the Sam Hill's wrong with you guys? Why come you can't come up with the right parts on this? And they said, well, I don't know. So I went over and checked it, and they had opened the door and gone by the build date to determine the year model instead of looking at the 10th digit. And they were saying it was an 04 and it was an 05. And so we got the wrong parts repeatedly until we actually realized that. Now, here's another problem. If you open the door, if they've replaced the door,
That's right.
it can be the sticker that was like on the Dodge Dakota, for example, or a Dodge Durango. This guy had in here one time, it was a purple one, and his wife had an accident on it in Birmingham. Somebody caved the door in. So they took it to the body shop. What the body shop will do, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, they'll call their used parts supplier, and they'll say, bring me a door for a 2000, that'll fit a 2002 Dodge Durango, and let it be a purple one if you got one. And they go out there and they say, oh yeah, we got a purple one here. So they ship them that, and the door is exactly the right color. And so they put it on there. And everything looks great. It's a replacement door, it's not bent, it's the right color. Only problem is the VIN sticker that's on that door is for that other vehicle. So somebody opens the door to this door that's exactly the same color as just the vehicle. They look at that, and I've seen this happen right here in the shop. And they say, okay, it's a 2002 model. And then you look under the windshield and you find out it's a totally different serial number, it's 2003. So a lot of people want to go by that. What's wrong with going by the build date?
Sometimes they build a car and like the year that they want to say it is like towards the end of the year. They'll say it's the next year.
Yeah, like if it's, well, also, like in that GMC, that new body style in 99, there are some 99 Chevys that have the old body style and some that have the new body style. So how do you tell which is which? I mean, if you're talking to the parts guy on the phone, they'll say old body style or new body style. The new one is the rounded looking one, the other one's not.
Square body.
Yeah, sort of like that, yeah. So anyway, you gotta make sure that you know which is which. That's really important, Anyway, so, hold on a second. All right, so but the long and short of it is the 10th character. Now, how many of you guys can decode that without having to have a piece of paper in your hand?
Decode what? The VIN.
Decode the 10th digit on the VIN. I mentioned this to Coppage a while ago, but it starts in 1980 with A, and they didn't use I, O, Q, U, or Z.
So they have 21 letters.
They didn't use any of those.
So they
Got
didn't
it?
use that.
Not for the 10th digit, they didn't, not for the year.
Nope.
Why didn't they use I?
Because it looks like a 1.
Why didn't they use O?
It looks like a 0.
What about Q?
Looks like a 0 with a leg.
Looks like a 0, that's right. What about U?
Looks like
A lot of times when somebody writes a U, it looks like a V. So you can't tell the difference between a U and a V. Some people make a V to where it looks like a U.
2.
And then Z looks like a 2. But anyway, they called out the letters, you know, that were ambiguous. I'm guessing that's what they did, because I wasn't there when the committee put that together. But as I parsed this stuff and I'm thinking about it, that's what I come in. Remember, they didn't use I, O, Q, U, or Z. And so you can count off, and I told him, I have little memory bugs on mine. P is 93 because P and 3 rhyme. V is 97 because the V looks like a sideways 7. I mean, I just had to come up with that because when I go out there to look at your model, I'll tell you something else too. If you want to have a really good relationship with your parts man, when you go to the parts store, you better know what you want. If instead of saying, you know, I need a part. Now, there were times back in the olden days when I was first working on vehicles at that gas station, I could walk up to the counter and I could talk to this one particular parts man, and I'd say, give me a solenoid switch for a Chevrolet starter, and he'd put one on the counter and I'd pay him for it and I'd walk out. But there was another parts guy. Of course, when you're 18, everybody thinks you're stupid. Have you ever noticed that? You know, when you're, but you're not, but they think, well, this is just a kid because he don't know nothing. And I walked in there to that one day and I got a different parts guy. And I said, I need a starter solenoid for a Chevrolet starter, the same way I'd always ask the other guy for it. And the guy just laughed around here and acted like, well, who's this kid think he is? I got to know what your model is before I can look it up. And that's well, Obi doesn't need to know that. He just puts it on the counter. You know, and so anyway, I told the guy what your model was. He looked it up. And if you go back there on the shelf, every dadgum starter solenoid in those days that fit a Chevy was the same one. Why do you have to look it up? You know what I mean? There was another time I was working at Ford Place. There was a new parts guy that came there that had a lot of parts experience, and these other guy that had been there. And I went there and said, I need an air horn gasket for an Escort carburetor. And these other guys were, oh, you got to have the carburetor number and all. I wasn't even talking to him. I don't know what he saw anywhere. So he got through with all he was saying, and the guy that I was standing in front of just watched him until he got through talking. And he said, what year model is it? And I said, it's an 83. And he went and got one off the shelf and threw it on the counter. He didn't have to look it up. The other guy thought he had to look it up every time because that's, you know, that was basically the way he liked to do things. But anyway, a good parts guy is like gold. But to the parts guy, when you walk in there and don't know what you want, you're an idiot. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you walk in there and you say, I need some brake pads.
What year?
Excuse me? I mean, I need to know more than that, you know? I mean, and I called one time with a new parts guy up there, and I said, he answers the phone, and I said, I'm uncomfortable talking to a parts guy that I don't know. And he says, well, just tell me what you need. And I said, okay, I'm gonna give you a try. I don't even know who you are, but I'd rather talk to my regular industrial sales guy, but I need a lug nut for an 07 Toyota Corolla. He says, front or rear?
Wow.
I said, okay, boy, you're scaring me now. And I think he just said that to stall for time while he was looking it up. I don't know. But anyway, he said, well, send it up here and I'll match it up. So I did, and he matched it up. Okay, so the first character of the vehicle identification number is the country of origin. Where was the vehicle built that has a 5 as the first character? The United States. Okay, the VECI decal. What does VECI stand for? Tell me what VECI stands for. VECI. Huh?
Let's see it. Vehicle emissions control information.
Vehicle emission control information includes all of these except what?
Hey.
Doesn't have horsepower and torque rating of the engine. I'm going to tell you something else. Finding the horsepower and torque rating of the engine on some vehicle is very, very difficult. On some of them, if they're bragging about it and they're just now coming out with it, you know, they're going to have that. But, okay, what about number 7? The vehicle safety certification level includes all of the following except what?
C, tire pressure recommendation.
Well, and the vehicle safety certification level is the one where? Where's that one found? Where's it located on the car?
In the door. Oh,
That door pillar.
On the door.
written you right now.
But I'm going to tell you, that is really not a good answer for that question. Basically, it says tire pressure recommendation. That's not true all the time because I can show you vehicle safety certification decals that have the tire pressure on them. But typically, if you want to know what the tire pressure is, where do you find it? I mean, if somebody says, I need my tire pressure set, where are you going to find it?
I know it's on the door, inside the door.
Usually, in most cases it is. It may be on that vehicle safety certification label. I've seen it on there more and more lately. There's also, a lot of the times, a special sticker that's usually kind of colorful. I have actually seen it on the right rear open the right rear door and it'll be a sticker in there. Sometimes you'll go all the way around the car and you won't find it anywhere. But one thing you do not need to go by is the maximum inflation pressure on the side of the tire. Because that's the tire telling you, don't inflate me beyond 55 pounds. That's not saying for this car, you put 55 pounds in me, right? So basically, you need to figure out what it is. When in doubt, let's say you don't have a clue. Let's say that you gotta set the air pressure, and maybe somebody's peeled the label off, you can't find it, it's not on the car, the goofballs didn't put one on there when they built it.
Google.
Huh?
Google.
Yeah, well, you can Google sometimes, but if you're out here and you find yourself in a situation where you just got to make a decision, I usually default to 32 or 35 or something like that, depending on what it is. You know, some of the really big tires, you know, some tires have to have more. Here's something else I'm going to tell you about tires. You know these really low profile tires that you see on these big things? You know, if you run one of those things low on air for a long way, and then you try to air it up, the sidewall's gonna blow out, and it may be pointing right at your face when it does. You ever had that happen? This lady came out here 2 times, huh? This lady came out here on her Chrysler Crossfire, and a Chrysler Crossfire comes from a factory with low profile tires. And she says, can y'all put some air in my tires? And whenever he got it up, he hadn't even reached the pressure that it was supposed to go, and the sidewall goes boom, blows out. Scare the daylights out of you. You feel like you've been shot in the chest with a shotgun. But anyway, have your safety glasses on or some protection when you're doing that, and try to stay out of line with the tire. That thing can blow out, you know. But anyway, so go ahead and put C on that one. But the right answer is, you know, sometimes you're not gonna. I mean, you will find tire pressure on there sometimes. What are the characters that are embedded in most engine blocks and are used for identification? What do they call that? The characters that are embedded in most engine blocks.
The casting number.
Huh?
The casting number.
Casting number. Now, what can you do with that? Let's say that you see a casting number. You got a block out here and you got a casting number on it. What can you do with that casting number?
Check dimensions such as cubic inch displacement and other information.
How do you find out about that, though? I mean, the casting number is 372999458. What's that going to tell you about all that stuff you're talking about?
It doesn't say that.
Huh?
It doesn't say that.
Yeah. You call your parts store guy, your industrial sales guy that knows what he's doing. I'm not talking about the yo-yo they hired last week, you know, that usually just drives the truck. You say, I have a casting number on a block that is it's a Chevrolet or a Dodge. You'll know what it is typically. And I need to know what this come in. And the guy at the parts store, if he knows his stuff, he can take that casting number. And he says, that went in such and such a year model trucks and vans, you know, 92 to 96 and blah, blah, blah. I mean, he can tell you what size it is, you know, how many cubic inch displacement, what it was originally put in when it was new and all this kind of. So that is a really good number. If you get that casting number off the side of the block, you can find out from.
How do you know if a block's original?
That's going to be difficult. I mean, somebody could have stuffed one in there from something else. And you don't have any way of knowing specifically. If somebody else did a really good job of putting that motor in there, you won't be able to tell. I will tell you this though. You know the 4.8, 5.3, and 6-liter engines in Chevrolets. Mm-hmm. You can swap those out and they'll plug and play. And what I mean by that is if it's a 4.8, you can put a 5.3 in there or a 6.0 and you just plug the wires in, crank it up and drive it off. You know, you don't have to reflash anything. You don't have to do anything special.
Is
They're
that on
all,
the older models?
no, I'm talking about like the starting in 99, the late model 99.
It worked that way.
The 4.8, 5.3, exactly. As a matter of fact, did you know the bell housing bolts on an Oldsmobile, a Buick, a Chevrolet, a Pontiac are all different. The bell housing bolt patterns, unless the Pontiac has a Chevy engine in it. But they've all got different, I mean, those engines are, a 350, you could have a Buick, an Oldsmobile, a Pontiac, a Chevrolet with a 350 in it. And those are all different engines. Every one of those is a different motor. The distributor will be at a different place, the valve covers will look different, they're just different motors. You know, so, I mean, don't assume just because it's a GM with a 350 in it that you know exactly what's going on there, you know, because you need to see what's there, because they started stuffing Chevy engines in some of those other cars when they ran low on those engines for those cars. If the first character event is an S, where's the vehicle made?
England.
All right, 10, technician A says the lower the VIN number is, the cleaner technician B says SULEV has cleaner standards than ULEV.
A,
A.
Technician A.
That's actually both A and B. What is SULEV?
s-
What's ULEV? LEV basically is low emission vehicle, is basically what I'm talking about now. The VIN number is related to that. Which character of the VIN indicates the engine code?
C, the 8th.
The 8th, but it's not the same on every car. The year model is going to be the same on whatever car you got sold in the United States. The engine code varies from vehicle to vehicle and car line to car line. So you're not going to be able to have you a neat little chart like you do with the year models, because the engine codes are going to be totally different on all of them. Which character of the VIN indicates the year model? We've already been there. That's the 10th. The vehicle safety certification label includes
D,
all of these: VIN, month and year of manufacture, gross vehicle weight rating. I will tell you when the month and year of manufacture is important. Whenever you go to the parts store sometimes, and there was a change in the manufacturing partway through the year, like you'll say, I need such and such a part for this, and they'll say early or late, I need to know the year model. If it was up to March of 1993 or after March of 1993, so if the date's after March of 1993, that vectors you in on the right part for that car. Occasionally that'll misfire. I've seen that happen before, but it's not the end of the world when it does. You can usually recover without crashing and burning. But you got to be thinking on your feet. Where can vacuum hose routing information be found?
C.
The vehicle emission control information sticker is usually where you'll see that. Now, back in the olden days, the vehicle emission control information with the vacuum routing diagram, that thing looked like a road map of Clarksburg. And it would be color coded and everything. And the hoses, the little plastic pipes that went from place to place to be color coded. And some of those guys that were working on the line over there, I was doing electronics and engine performance and emission control stuff and all that. And some of those guys over there just wanted to do the nuts and bolt stuff, and they'd swap out an engine and they'd leave the vacuum hoses in a mess. And so they would send it out on down the line to me, and I would have to straighten out all those vacuum lines and hook them up like they were supposed to be, which is really a pretty involved job when all you have to go by is that little sticker under the hood. But see, those guys, they'd look at it and their eyes would cross and all that. But I basically, how do you wire stuff up?
negative, negative, positive, positive.
Well, sort of, but if you've got something that requires a lot of wires, like on that board over there, or if you're wiring anything up on any kind of a vehicle, what do you do?
Wiring schematic.
One wire at a time. One wire at a time. This is a little story right here. I used to hang out at the coffee shop at Sambo's in Port Arthur when I was living down there. I was working for that offshore services company, and I was sitting in there at Sambo's one day, and I asked this little girl that was working behind the counter, I said, what kind of car do you drive? She says, well, I had a car that I can't drive now because the engine burned up. I said, what do you mean the engine burned up? What, you let it run out of oil or water or something? She goes, no, it caught fire and burned up. And it was like a 63 Buick with a V6 in it. And I said, seriously? She says, yeah. And she says, my parents gave me a distributor cap and a set of spark plug wires and a coil for my birthday. But we're trying to figure out how to get it put back together. And I said, well, she said, well, you come look at it for me. I said, yeah, I guess so. So I went over there to her house and opened the hood on the thing, and oh my gosh, what a mess. You know, the whole thing was just, looked like a, poof, it was terrible. And I said, well, I think I can fix this. So I unhooked the wire harness. The wire harness was just a bunch of copper wires with no insulation on them anymore. Just all running everywhere. But they went to connectors, on the car. And so I unplugged all the connectors, and how much wiring is there on a 63 Buick anyway, So I laid it out on the tailgate of my pickup truck, and I got some wire and some connectors and stuff. And one wire at the time, I took this wire and separated it from all the other copper wires and ran a wire here and ran a wire there and made sure they were right length, put it all back together, taped it up and plugged it all back in, dropped her distributor in there and put the cap on it and hung all the wires up and everything, and it fired up. She was able to drive it again. And so what I did was, she says, well, how much do I owe you? I said, I don't know, I guess $25. So she paid me with rolled coins. because she was a waitress. You know what I mean? I mean, like big rolls of quarters, this kind of thing. And I said, can I turn these into maybe some $10 bills and stuff, you know? And she says, yeah, but you got to put your name and address on them. I said, what? She says, yeah, if there's washers or anything in there, we'll have to get back. Wait a minute, you rolled these. But she made me write my name and address on them. Anyway, but that was basically what I was getting at was vacuum lines, wires, whatever you're doing, you find out for sure where the wire starts and where the wire goes, and you wire them up one wire at a time. That's how you fix that stuff. And it's not that complicated. Now, whenever you're through, like when you wire up some of these boards over here, it is a spaghetti mess. Nobody's gonna be able to look at that and copy how you did it, because it's an absolute mess over there. You know, all those wires are all, and it looks scary to somebody that doesn't do wires a lot. Okay, let's see, what number were we on?
16.
15, where can the VECI label be found?
We're on 16.
Huh?
We're on 16.
We're on 16?
Yes, sir.
What's with your shirt?
Wait a minute, did I already ask you where you could find the VECI
Yes, sir.
label?
Under the hood.
Oh, under the hood or near the fan shroud, but is that where it's always at? Haven't you guys had a sheet where you've had to look for that? Sometimes it's under and sometimes whenever you look up, it's underneath the hood. Where you raise the hood up, it'll be up here. And they'll even have a cutout in that insulation under the hood where it's at. If it has come off of there, you gotta, Google it. Which tier of emission standards is the least stringent?
Tier
1. Tier 1.
Oh, what did I tell you? What did I tell you?
Yeah.
That's wrong.
Which tier of emission standards became effective in 2009?
She got C.
Tier 2. Tier 1 standards, blank. A may be different for both cars and light trucks. B went into effect in 94. C, both A and B, or D, neither A or B.
B.
That's gonna be both A and B.
C.
Maybe different for cars and light trucks.
What I
Yeah.
put?
What did I put?
D.
Zero emission vehicles.
What is it, both?
Yeah.
Zero emission vehicles are either electric or fuel cell powered, that produce zero tailpipe emissions. That's not carbon copy.
A.
That's gonna be, actually, C. That's A and B.
Yeah, actually, that'll be.
Yeah. Technician A says calibration codes may be located on the PPM housing. Technician B says calibration codes must be accessed by a scan tool. Who's correct about that? That's A and B. You can get them with a scan tool. Some of the Ford vehicles will have what you call a tear tag. It'll be that they got one stuck, a little 4-digit number stuck on the engine controller, and the other one will be stuck on the shock tower somewhere. All right, everybody grade the paper. It was 5 points per question, however many they missed. Put the score up at the top so my work study girl can put that in there because she wants to do that. All right, now then, I'm going to show you guys something about cooling systems because this is really, really, really important stuff. Fire up the projector here.